Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity. So I am here to give my introduction to my top 10 worst Star Trek episodes. So unlike I usually do with my top 10s, I usually do a video and I'll list off my top 10s. Sometimes I'll do like a top 30 or I'll do like a 2-hour video and I'll go on forever. But for my top 10 worst episodes of Star Trek, I decided to do each entry in my top 10 separately. Has its own episode review. So these will be considered the episode review because if you're familiar with my channel, I do random episode reviews for episodes of any of the Star Trek series. Typically, at the moment, I have these episode reviews determined by my user polls, but I decided to go ahead and do episode reviews for my top 10 worst Star Trek episodes. So, to be clear, why Star Trek, I don't mean Star Trek the original series, I mean the entire franchise. These are the 10 worst episodes, in my opinion, of course, of the entire Star Trek franchise. So obviously it's my opinion, these are the ones that I think are the worst of the worst. I mean, and there's over 500 episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise, so to boil it down to 10, this is like, it's almost like splitting hairs saying the differences between them, but I tried to order them as best as I could. But it's an understatement to say that this is the worst of the worst. The worst I could possibly do. And of course, I feel like I need to give the standard disclaimer that I shouldn't really have to give, that people will just ignore anyway, that I love the Star Trek franchise. Of course, that's why I do all these videos about it. I think Star Trek is amazing. I think all the Star Trek shows, even Enterprise, even Discovery, to varying degrees, are really, really good. But even great shows, the best of shows, especially shows that have 24 plus episodes a season, will have some terrible episodes. And because it's really hard for anyone to keep up that kind of momentum. And Star Trek has got some real doozies. As much as I think the good definitely outweighs the bad, that's what makes it more noticeable when you do get a really shit episode, because usually Star Trek is amazing, usually Star Trek is great, but there are quite a few cases where it was subpar, and here's the 10 worst in my opinion. So, first off, I gotta say the shows that will be involved, because usually when I'm doing my episode reviews, I'm doing the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. Those are the 5 shows I have been doing episode reviews for, and these will be the 5 shows that make it for my top 10 worst list. Now, you also have the animated series, and to be honest, there was one episode that was considered. It was in my short list, but it didn't make the final list of the top 10 worst, so there will be no animated series episodes. And besides, I'm not really, animated series I'm actually doing as a Patreon-only series, because honestly, that's not really as important of a show as the main 5. So that didn't make it. Now, Discovery and Picard, I would have considered, but to be honest, there's not any episodes that would make even my short list. Now, that's not to say those shows are too good to have bad episodes. In fact, I think both shows are mediocre at best. I mean, Discovery only has 2 seasons, Picard only has 1, but they have yet to sort of prove themselves, and they're both completely flawed. Although I don't think they're terrible, as some people would say, and they're not Star Trek, as some people would say. I don't think any of that crap, but I don't think they're great. They just don't have any episodes that I would consider absolutely terrible, like that make me would want to like throw up and never want to watch it again. Because part of the reason for that is because there's only like 10. There's only 10 episodes of Picard so far, and I think something like 28 or 30 of Discovery, so they don't have very many episodes. Picard, if I was going to choose the worst, it would be that Stardust City, or whatever it's called, one where it was so rushed. But that wouldn't make, I'd probably give that like a 2 or 3 out of 10, and of course, all the episodes in my top 10 worst have a 1. Obviously. Like, there's more than 10 ones. And for Discovery, the worst episode would probably be, I believe it's called Choose Your Pain, the one where Saru completely disregards Starfleet principles and tortures a sentient being, and nobody gives a fuck about it, and the Admiral doesn't even talk him down. She talks out Stamets instead of fucking Sue. Nobody cares he's torturing a being. And plus Harry Mudd's in that episode, and fuck Harry Mudd. But again, that's probably getting a 3 or 2. So, not quite. None were actually considered for my worst list from those 2 shows because they don't have enough episodes and they're too new. So I'm sticking to the basic 5. Now, I feel like I should give some disclaimers on what episodes you will not find in my top 10 worst, because there's a lot of some episodes that are widely considered by the fan base to be the worst episodes of the Star Trek franchise. Some of them you will find in my top 10, but others you won't. I thought I should just be upfront so you're not expecting to see them. First one, those familiar with my channel should know, Move Along Home. I honestly like that episode. I don't get why so many people hate it so much. I was actually really shocked when I first heard people hated this episode so much. I don't think it's great or anything, but it's fine. I don't really have an issue with it. Another one is Threshold, which I do think is a terrible episode. In fact, it made my Voyager top 10 worst, but I don't think it didn't even make my Voyager top 5 worst. And only like the top 1 or 2 of each of my lists is making it into my top 10 of the franchise. Because Voyager, Threshold, it's a bad episode, don't get me wrong, but so many people would say it's the worst Star Trek has to offer, and it was offensive. But honestly, I thought most of the episode was just boring. It's your standard turning into monster stuff that Brennan Braga just loves to do over and over again. It's not until we get to the ending with the salamanders where it gets into ridiculously bad territory, but most of the episode leading up to the salamander thing is just averagely bad, in my opinion. Again, it made my top 10 worst Voyager, so it is a special kind of bad, but not enough to make my top 10 of the franchise. And another episode on that same vein you will not find in my top 10 worst is Spock's Brain. Again, I talked about, I actually gave this a 4 out of 10, if you can believe it, because I can see that it could be an appropriate show for children. I saw it when I was 11 or something, and I kind of liked it. If you disregard how it's just a fantasy and there's no realism or science to it whatsoever, which, let's be fair, is par for the course for the original series, but also, to be fair, this is more ridiculous than any other original series episode. But, I kind of get enjoyment out of watching how silly it is. Gotta be fair. Although, yeah, does not necessarily disqualifies episodes from this top 10 worst list, I should say. And another episode that you will not find here that you might expect is These Are the Voyages, because I already did a review for that saying it's not as bad as everyone says it is, and I really want to continue to fight people on that one. It's not a great episode. I still gave it a 4 out of 10, so it's poor, but I think Enterprise especially, I think I can think of maybe 20 or 30 episodes from the first 2 seasons that are much worse than that, so I wouldn't put it anywhere near a top worst list of the entire franchise, but that's just me. So how this is going to work, every week I'm going to release a new video, which, as I said, will be the episode review for that episode, which I'll put up on my episode review list for whatever series that it's from. But it will say Enchantment of Eternity, number 10 worst, number 9 worst, number 8 worst, what have you. I will also have a playlist, which I will link to in, well, I'll put it in this video as well, although this will be the only video on that list until I start making the other ones. But I will link to in every one of these videos. I'll have a playlist that will have the top 10 worst lists as I make them. So if you just watch one randomly and you see number 7 and it's like, wow, what's number 6, what's number 8, there'll be a list in there that will have all 10 of them in a row. But as I said, each video will be considered the episode review for that episode, so I'm not going to, trust me, I'm not going to waste my time watching the horrible episodes yet again. I mean, there's so many episodes on this list that I had to watch when I did my season reviews for the other Star Trek shows, and I went back and watched a lot of them, and I kept saying, I never want to watch this piece of shit again. And here I am, forcing myself to watch it again. So definitely don't want to watch it again after that. So anyway, there will be the playlist that will have all the episodes listed in order as I make them. Of course, so once I complete my top 10, you can just go to the playlist and I'll have all 10 in order. Otherwise, it will be on my channel in the episode review list for whatever show that it's from. Cool. So, be prepared, be prepared. Once a week I'm going to release an episode that, as I said, these are really a special kind of bad, in my opinion. I can see a few of these episodes in here that I know some people are going to disagree with, but then again, I disagree with what some others would say worst episodes were, like the ones I just mentioned. Like, I don't think These Are the Voyagers should be anywhere near a worst list, but that's just me. Anyway, so that's it for my introduction. Be sure to keep an eye out as I count down my top 10 worst episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.